Stu, Pivot Bio's Proven 40, it's sold as a nitrogen replacement, and we wanted to provide third-party validation for the success of this product. In other words, does it actually add a nitrogen from the air to the corn plant? Corn's jealous of soybean because soybean gets half of its N from bacteria in the nodules. Those are nitrogen-fixing bacteria that take N2 gas out of the air and using a lot of energy, convert it into a plant-usable form. That's been the holy grail when it comes to grass crops like corn. And now we have this technology that is purported to provide some of the corn plant's nitrogen from the atmosphere.
And so the Pivot Bio folks who've been selling this for several years, they've been selling it to farmers, and we've gotten some research from that. But has there been a question of whether it's really worked or not?
I think the question more, Stu, is where it might work and how. So if you think about the corn plant, corn gets its nitrogen currently from fertilizer and the soil in roughly equal proportions. So half from the fertilizer, half from the soil. Now I will guarantee you there are areas in every farmer's field where either the soil doesn't supply its half or the fertilizer N is lost or not available. And the growers can see that as nitrogen deficiency. Now what if you had a third source of N, Stu, the air, that would fill those gaps? And it doesn't take much when it's lost or not available. So that's what I think we were extremely interested in. Now we have 3 sources of N for corn instead of just 2, because I don't have to tell every grower that 3 is better than 2.
Well, the air is 80% nitrogen, so that's where it's coming from.
Yeah, there is nitrogen gas in the atmosphere. So that's a triple bond, Stu, and it takes a lot of energy to break it, and there's only certain enzymes that can do it, the nitrogenase enzyme. And that enzyme is present in the biological inoculum that we put on the corn seed, and then those bacteria live on the surface of the root. The root feeds them. That's where the energy comes from. And then what they do is they take N out of the air right in the rhizosphere of the root. So, this is nitrogen that doesn't require any petroleum or natural gas energy to make. You don't have to haul it around. You don't really even have to apply it, Stu. All you got to do is put the bacteria on the seed. And so again, that's a good way to have another source of N to the corn crop. I'm not going to tell you it's going to replace soil or fertilizer N, but again, it's going to help supplement each of those sources in those areas of the field that have these temporal nitrogen deficiencies.
So you've been able to show that this inoculating process, adding the microbes or the whatever you're putting on there, adding that to the seed coat of the corn that we're planting, all of a sudden we've got that third source of nitrogen.
That's right, Stu. So but we're all familiar with seed treatment. And people that grow soybean know that sometimes they inoculate their soybean with the nitrogen-fixing bacteria. That's what growers can do with corn now. In addition to the traditional seed treatment, they could put a little nitrogen with that in the form of the bacteria. And then that bacteria, like I said, colonizes that root system and does then provide a portion of nitrogen to the corn plant.
Okay, so your research basically has confirmed what farmers have been purchasing with Pivot Bio.
What we wanted to show, Stu, is yes, indeed, this does provide additional N to the plant at a time that the plant needs it, and that it comes from the atmosphere. And there's a few criteria that researchers have to use to actually show that. We varied the rate of N with and without the inoculum, and we could show that there was a replacement value of nitrogen that's associated with that treatment. We could actually measure more N in the plant when we treated it. And then using isotope dilution labeled N the dilution of that, we could equivocally show that some of that additional N came from the atmosphere. So this convinces us that yes, the product is doing what it is purported to do.
One of Fred Belo's recent students, Logan Woodward, was curious about whether or not Pivot Bio's claims really worked. And so he worked on his Ph.D. project, researching just exactly whether or not corn was able to get its nitrogen from the atmosphere, as Pivot Bio claimed. The new Dr. Woodward, along with his mentors, Dr. Fred Belo and Dr. Connor Sybil, have worked on the research, refining it, and it's now been published in an academic journal. Subsequently, the Pivot biotechnology has been recognized by the academic community. We visited with Dr. Logan Woodward about that process.
Pivot Bio was relatively new to the market when I started my grad program in 2018 or so. And so I had this great opportunity that they came to us and said we're interested in learning more about our product and getting it out there to be able to understand how we fit in a grower's system, how Pivot Bio's proven fits in a grower's system, right? And I thought it was a great opportunity to get my hands on some opportunity to help with growers to alleviate some of those problems that with nitrogen stress. You know, as we know, corn takes up nitrogen either as fertilizer or nitrogen in the soil. And so this is a way that we can help alleviate some of those deficiencies within a field by providing a third source of nitrogen from the atmosphere. And at my time when I was working with it, I was very intrigued. And I've always been an analytical guy ever since I was a kid. And the more questions I answer, the more questions that arise. And this product, this Proven 40, was something that brought up more questions to me that I wanted to figure more out about. And I thought it was just made a lot of sense to move on and continue working with Pivot Bio after I graduated.
Okay, so the science is something that you started working on and confirming and improving that. You started working with their science to begin with. Is it, okay, they already had the science and then you started working to confirm it to make sure that, yeah, this is not something that's hocus pocus?
That's absolutely right, Stu. Yeah, we definitely set out to try to strive to confirm that that these claims were correct, that we are able to get more nitrogen in the plant that is derived from the atmosphere and have it have a physiological response within the plant. You know, corn is a very nitrogen demanding crop. And this is something that we can help alleviate some of those stresses when one of those, either the fertilizer or the soil lets you down.
What is the chemistry that's involved here? What is Pivot Bio really putting on that seed or putting in the ground, whichever it is?
It's a little bit of a chemistry and also biology. So right now we sell nitrogen fixing bacteria. So it is a living thing that we apply on the seed as a seed treatment or applied in furrow at planting. And so ultimately it's living bacteria that live on the roots where they're getting their energy from. The roots are providing carbon as exudates for energy for those microbes. And those microbes then take atmospheric nitrogen, which is the triple bonded two nitrogen atoms. And it takes a lot of energy to break down that bond. They have a special enzyme that can break that triple bond down to provide a plant available source that is right in the root system where the crop is going to take it up. So I see it as some of the most efficient pounds of nitrogen on a grower's nitrogen management system.
Okay, so Pivot Bio had the science. They hired you to work on confirmation of it, or to what did you take to them that they wanted from you?
So as of right now, I'm an agronomist for Pivot Bio, and I am testing pre-commercial products. So I do on-farm trials with growers in the state of Illinois and testing new types of product concepts and different types of products that we could potentially sell in the future. And so I'm kind of the last stage gate right now within our research and development team to determine what we may sell in the future.
So there may be some more stuff that we'll see in the future.
Absolutely.
But as far as their science that I think farmers could get under the name of Proven 40, why that's pretty well a success for Pivot Bio, and it's been confirmed here by what Dr. Belo has and what your research was in your PhD research and what Dr. Belo has continued on to work on.
I would agree, exactly. I'm excited to see what is next to come. I mean, we have a lot of new technology down the pipeline, and I'm excited to see how other ways we can help growers out in their fertility system. In our trials, we tested proven 40 applied at various nitrogen rates. We wanted to see if there was a regression and see how much fertility that we could ultimately replace or supplement through biological nitrogen fixation. And what we found across all of those nitrogen rates, we had increases in nitrogen uptake at multiple time periods throughout the growing season. And we also then did a regression to determine that we were able to replace up to 30 to 35 pounds in some scenarios in that management system as far as in nitrogen uptake. But we also, the thing I thought was most interesting is we did confirm that some of that nitrogen that got into the plant was derived from the atmosphere. We had naturally abundant soils with a 15N, so we were able to ultimately determine that some of that nitrogen that the crop was taken up was truly derived from the atmosphere and fixed from the air.
It wasn't from the soil. It wasn't from somebody running a anhydrous ammonia rig through the soil, through the field, but it was really from the air around the plant.
Yeah, definitely part of it. So I definitely don't think we're able to completely replace. We definitely aren't able to replace synthetics. That's super important for that growing crop to actually maximize some of its yields. But I do think that in some scenarios that some of that nitrogen is, we don't know the fate of it. You know, some of that is the most inconsistent applications, especially in some of your fall anhydrous applications. We don't know if that's going to get into the plant. And so I think there's definitely ways that we can supplement some of those pounds for some of your more most efficient pounds where we're able to supply nitrogen fixed from the atmosphere right in the root system.